Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Q&A show on Inside the Birds platform, YouTube channel. I am your co-host, one of your co-hosts, Jason Avant. I'm here with my man, my roadie, dog, Quintin Mikell. Q, say what's up to the people.
What's going on, everybody? Back at it again. I think I don't even want to say this, but I think congratulations are in order. I know we're going to get to that in a second. The gloating's going to happen in a second, but before
This is
anyone
right
else
from the
gets the
field,
chance,
Q. This is right from the field. I got this right at game time.
congratulations on your national championship.
I, I appreciate that. My Michigan Wolverines won the national championship, so I'm on cloud nine. There's nothing you can do, even the Eagles losing to the Giants, to get me down at this moment in time. But I was pretty perturbed and upset while the game was going on. But Michigan kind of took me back up to the mountaintop after hearing all the naysayers. You're cheating. You can't beat the SEC. Can't do it in the big game. You didn't play anybody. Washington's going to trounce you. All of that. Sign still, these nuts. All the way to a national championship. Best team in Michigan football history. And I tell you this. Y'all better be lucky that the offense couldn't find a rhythm yesterday or a couple days ago, because that game should have been like 63-0, 56-0, something like that. Not nothing, but 56-13, 63-13, something like that. If we had any offensive rhythm at all, we'd have beat you by a bunch more. Same way with Alabama. They had the ball on the 40 the entire game, and our defense was stopping them the entire game. You know,
Yeah,
our dudes picked the ball. There's after you like the defense backs.
I
You have to
did.
be to say I like the defense backs.
I was impressed, man. I did not think that they were shut down like that. They were coming up hitting.
Him
They were getting off
too.
blocks. They were making plays on the ball. I
I
was
was
I
like,
was
Q can at
impressed.
least appreciate the D backs.
I
And
did.
if anything else, all
Oh
right,
yeah,
here we go.
no doubt.
All right, let's get into the Eagles game. The Eagles stunk it up in the Meadowlands or MetLife Stadium this past week. Embarrassing loss 27-10, 24-0 at halftime. Q looked like a hot bowl of garbage the entire game. Is there any reason to believe the Eagles can get this right? Are they one and done? Hold on, wait.
Um,
Before we do that, thank you guys for tuning into the show. Applause to you guys. Make sure you check us out. InsideTheBirds@gmail.com. Email your questions to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Apple Music, Amazon, wherever. Just make sure you check us out. Thank you guys for tuning into the show. The Eagles are playing terrible. Q. Is there any reason to believe that they can go far in the playoffs, or they are one and done team?
I think it's quite possible they're one and done. The only thing, and holding out hope. The only thing is if they're possibly sandbagging, but I don't think they're sandbagging. This team has completely fallen apart. They're playing the Buccaneers, who are on the way up. Um, I think the defense is pretty good. Baker Mayfield's starting to play at a high level. They still have a great receiver out there in Evans. So it's going to be tough. And the first time the Eagles beat them is 25-11 back in September. And remember they needed a couple big plays to really take that game over. I think that game was closer than the score says. And so I think this is a very close. It's a possible win, possible one and done. It's a possible not even to win this game and be done right after this. So, you're talking about two different teams that had completely different trajectories. The Eagles were going up here when they played last time, and since then, I guess week 11, week 10, or whatever, they just started to plummet. And I see this Buccaneers team kind of going the opposite way. So it's very, very possible. I would say highly likely that this team is possibly one and done and possibly not even getting past the wild card round where
Yeah,
they're playing.
I agree with you. I'm going to give them maybe a 40% chance to win this game. I think that the odds are stacked against them. I believe that this team is not worthy to move on, just to be honest with you. And I'm not saying this from a perspective that's hating at all. It just doesn't work that way with the National Football League. You cannot just turn it on anytime that you want to. There's too much sweat, there's too much effort, there's too much attention to detail amongst every coach and player in this game in order to manufacture a win. And I don't think that the Eagles are playing worthy enough to get a win in the playoffs. Like if they do get a win, this will be the only win they'll get in the playoffs. And I know that sounds extremely negative, but that's just the truth. Like I said, there takes a lot of attention to detail, and you respect those teams that put the time in to stay assignment pure, to put the time in not to have mental errors, that put the time in order to be a well-oiled machine so they could put a good product out on the field. I don't think our Eagles have done that. I don't think that that's the team that we've had all this year. And so to actually go out and win the game will actually be disrespectful to the game of football unless they can turn it around. But as they're constructing, as they're playing right now, they won't win as they're playing. If they get it turned around and they play a brand of football, which we have not seen this entire year, even when they were winning, we haven't seen the brand of football that it requires to win playoff games this entire year. So if they come all of a sudden and pull a rabbit out of their hat and play an assignment pure game, a mistake-free game, not 100% mistakes, but they're playing on the plus side of making sound decisions, then then that would be a miracle in and of itself. That would be a miracle. So unless that happens, it would be, it would be a really tough go for the Eagles. Do I want them to win? I want them to win. However, I just think that they have to play a lot better in order to do it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And then the thing I noticed too, especially watching this game, and I hated this game. Obviously, I hate the Giants. It's been well known, well documented. But this time of year, late in the year, going into the playoffs, it's all about momentum. It's all about momentum. You find something, you find one thing to kind of motivate and pull the team together, and it just there's nothing. Like they were just flat. There's no momentum. Even after the game, it just felt like there's no life. There's no life on this team. There's no fire. There's nothing, right? And so that's the thing that scares me the most is this town, Philadelphia, this Eagles team has always been a blue collar, put your hard hat on, let's go to work, let's, us against the world. And there's just none of that. It just feels really, really empty. And it's really odd right now. And so, hopefully, like you said, hopefully they figure it out and they get it together. But, right now it just feels empty.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I think that there's a bunch of finger pointing going on right now.
Yeah.
It's this person, it's that person, it's smoke, it's anonymous, it's vague statements in the media. It's a bunch of things that's going on, and it looks like they don't believe. And that's what you're saying. It
Yeah.
looks like they don't believe in them. And it's not us saying it, it's what they're showing on the field. And there's a lot of things that kind of transpired in that game, right? Discuss the Eagles and why they're suddenly unable to throw against the blitz. Like how the Giants they crushed them with pressure. Like we know it's Wink Martindale, Q. Like we know that he brings the second most pressures in the National Football League. This is what he does. He's done it every time we played them.
Absolutely.
And why did we look so bewildered and befuddled at the blitz? Like they weren't going to do it.
I honestly have no idea. I mean, they did it, like you said, they did it the first game. That's his style. By the way, I love Wink Martindale's style of defense. I mean, that's, it reminded me of Jim Johnson. It reminded me of McDermott. Like that's the type of scheme that I love to see. And, it's a tack style defense. And they knew going to this game that was going to happen. And, I think, and you could probably answer this better, but I think an offense has always have to, when they design their offensive schemes and their offensive plays, there always has to be an outlet. There always has to be someone for the quarterback to look to when things go bad. And too often in in critical pressure situation. Now, he was pressuring almost every play, but in plays where you know that pressure's coming, you got receivers running 10, 15, 20-yard routes down the field, and poor Jalen is sitting. He's a sitting duck. He has nobody to throw to. He has no outlet. And I just, it happened time after time after time, and it's been the entire season. And so I really don't. I think it's more of a scheme issue, and I'm starting to feel bad for Jalen in times because he has no one to throw to.
I agree with you to some extent. I believe, you know how on this show, I've defended Brian Johnson for the most part. I couldn't defend Brian Johnson in this case. To this point, I agree with you with. So Brian Johnson in this particular game didn't give Jalen Hurts an accurate, or no, accurate is not the word, didn't give him a fighting chance to be successful. Like, because I thought the route development was way too long for Jalen Hurts to actually be successful in this game, right? So, but here's the thing. There should have been checks. There should have been hot reads. There should have been play calling that anticipated the blitz. So this game, I will say this is a Brian Johnson game. This is one of the worst games that he has called. Okay.
Yeah.
Just in general. I will say that. I usually put it on the players. I usually say, hey, this play is here, this play is there. It was an opportunity, and that's what I see on film. Watching this game on tape, I'm looking at myself like, oh, you can't, this is the offense coordinator game because you know this guy's gonna blitz, and there was no accurate, and there was no preparation for it. There weren't any thoughtful preparation for this. Now, here's the other thing. This is where I disagree with you. Jalen has a few throws in that game, not everyone, but I'll say in this game, a good 30% where he could have got the ball to somebody. But that's still a 70% that should have been called, helped out by the offense coordinator. Now, Jalen Hurts is doing something that I just don't understand why he's doing it. Right now, Jalen Hurts tends to me that he's afraid of pressure.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He anticipates pressure by automatically moving out of the pocket. There's times in this game where Jalen Hurts could have just stepped up into the pocket and not outside of the pocket. And that's on Jalen Hurts. And the other thing that you see, immediately once he feels like the pressure is going to get through, even though it hasn't declared like it's through, his eyes immediately come down. Immediately. If he feels like blitzers are coming through, his eyes come down. You're supposed to keep your eyes down the field and feel the pressure, not necessarily look at the pressure. He's looking at the pressure, which prohibits him from being able to get the ball to the right person. Like he had Julio Jones on like a crossing like not a crossing pattern, some type of drive across the field, some type of a crossing route, 5 yards. He could have got the ball there, but as soon as the pressure came, his eyes came down and he wasn't anticipating. You as a quarterback should already know that the blitz is coming. My only close to outlet is going to be the shallow cross. So I'm going to be anticipating this, throwing it to where he's going to be and not where he is right now. And that's Jalen Hurts' problem right now. He is not anticipating anything, not anticipating blitzes, not anticipating throws, not anticipating his opportunities of players that could be open. Okay? Based on what the coverage is dictating, based on what's happening in front of me, I am going to get this ball and put it where it should be. And guess what happens when you're not aware of the defense and you're not 100% on the play calls, you're going to be looking for things because you don't know where it is.
Gotcha. Okay.
Rather than knowing where it is already and saying, you know what, if this happens, I'm anticipating the ball's going here. I don't have to think about it because I know what I'm looking at and I understand what I'm being asked to do. I know the play calling. So therefore I know this guy's going to be, even if he can't Even if he's not open, I'm throwing it. Why? Because I want him to take a sack.
Yeah.
If I see any portion of his body open, I'm gonna throw it, even if it's in the dirt. Let everybody know that dude gotta get open.
Got you.
All right.
Hold on. Let me say one more thing real
Okay,
quick
go ahead.
before, and I know we got to move pretty quickly, but and you could probably correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I remember when Donovan, I was still kind of a young player when Donovan was already kind of like locked into a spot, and I remember when Donovan really started to struggle as a quarterback was when he stopped taking off and running. And I feel like
Yes.
this is a similar situation to what Jalen's at right now. He wants to be the quarterback. And there's this stigma on running quarterbacks, like they're not as smart or they can't read the field and all that stuff. But when he's effective is when he can take off and run. And I think every quarterback is effective when they can take off and run, especially against a Wink Martindale type of defense where it's designed to get the quarterback's eyes down right now. And then, you got all these guys dropping in different lanes. So many times in this game, I'm like, Jalen, just take off and run because that'll make Wink think twice about sending pressures. It's the same thing with Spagnola. Like when you take off, when the quarterback takes off and you got his own pressure on and they bust it for 25 yards, it makes you second guess about pressuring all the time. So I had a really weird feeling that during this game that it was very similar to when Donovan decided that he didn't want to run anymore,
I
and it just
remember that.
causes more issues. So like I just think he needs to just get back to what he used to be and just take off and run when the play's there. There's nothing wrong with that. Get what you can, get down, put pressure back on the defense, and make them play like actual coverage, instead of pressuring the whole time.
Yeah. And here's the thing about the guy. Here's the thing about the guy's run. I remember when Donovan that because it was like 06 when he stopped. He was right when I came. I remember when he put that quote out in the media,
Yeah,
and he got hurt, and after that he was like, I don't know. Um, I remember that, and it makes you more efficient on third downs because now that third and fourth down calls, you begin to anticipate what they can call now because they know you can run. They're like,
yeah,
oh, we don't want to go, man.
yeah,
We want to do something else because if he gonna take off on us, you know
yeah,
what I mean? And now you're a chance to hire because now the quarterback run is 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4. That's when Donovan ran the ball, we were unstoppable.
yeah,
And here's the thing, you can't do the running around the edge. You actually have to step up in the pocket and go through the middle. You
yeah,
can't go around. By the time you get around, everybody can see you now, and they're faster than you.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So get back to running, man.
Get back to running.
All right. Yeah. So you know, essentially what's going on right now. The last few games we've been seeing our edge rushers, Reddick, we've been seeing Sweat, a couple times Brandon Graham, guys that are normally used to rushing the passer, drop it in the coverage. And I think this all goes back to the whole, firing Decide deal and bringing in Patricia, and they're trying to mesh two different types of schemes and two different type of looks, and it's just not working. And one play in particular was early in the game. I think it was the Giants' maybe second drive, and it was a fire zone. Okay, and for people that don't know, a fire zone is a type of pressure, a zone pressure where end will show off on the edge, and then he'll show like he's rushing, and then he'll drop into coverage. And so there was one particular play where Sweat was supposed to drop into coverage, and usually when you drop into coverage, you're not expecting the defensive lineman to cover a receiver all the way down the field. But on this particular play, he's dropping to the hook, and so he drops to the hook. The back goes to the flat, and so he ends up expanding to the flat, meaning going with the back to the flat and totally vacating his zone. And so what the play transpired, what happened was it ended up being a 40-30 yard gain for the receiver because the nickel that was down to that side, or the cornerback that was down to that side, was already in the flat. Sweat was supposed to be in the hook, which is about 10 yards down the field, right on the hash, and he wasn't there. He went with the back, so he vacated his zone. And so I say all that shit just to say this, is that you got guys that aren't used to dropping in the coverage, dropping in the coverage. And this is part of the reason why I had a big problem with the side move, because when you're changing styles, when you're changing things during the middle of the season, think about this. When you go from spring training or spring camps, you go through training camp, you go through all this stuff, and you get ready for the season, and it's always kind of like a upward curve, and you always want to be peaking right at the right time, right? So a lot of times the defensive coordinator will design and kind of build on their scheme, and to the point where they're like right at the peak, right around November, that time where it's time to get ready for the playoffs. And so when you have that change, that you're going on this peak and guys are getting better, and now you change and you cut it off and you go back down here. And this is where we're at right now. This team, this defense under Matt
That's a
Patricia,
great point.
is back down here, and they plateaued back at this level. Now they're
That's a great
relearning
point.
all this new stuff. And so that's the frustrating thing. And that's why I said what I said back then. I wouldn't have made this move, because now you got a guy throwing a whole different type of system. You got guys dropping in the coverage. You got all different types of combinations, guys playing that haven't played in years
Oh, yeah.
on the field. And it's very, very frustrating to see, because there's no continuity. There's no vision. It seems like this defense is just throwing things at a dartboard and just trying to figure it out as they go. And it's really frustrating to see.
Q, that was a great analogy there, and great point being said. It's like, somebody, you got something in the oven that's looking good when you're looking at the light, but then you take it out and it's not done. It's like, and now you can't get it back because you lost it. You took it out at the wrong time. Construction job that looks crazy in the midst of remodeling in the first month. They don't want to wait until the end product now, and they could have, did that prematurely. I don't necessarily know if Desai was the complete and total problem. We don't know what's happening in the building, but right now I can clearly tell you that guys are being used out of position. One play I can point to in that game is the Saquon Barkley. It was like a pick wheel route that they had. Morrow was going in motion with them. They were in man to man, and Morrow is going to call it off and give it to Nolan Smith. That's a defensive end. Like, I'm like, he's running across the field and he can't catch up to him across the field. And he like, you take him. And then both of them are running late. I'm like, what are we doing here, bro? Like, this shouldn't be happening. Like that play was basically Morrow trying to switch off a man-to-man situation. Like, why is the end doing it? It was weird. And it was like, oh, you can do this in a meeting, but they don't really understand the concept of it,
Yeah.
So we're seeing an amalgamation of two different styles and defenses going, and it's not working at all.
I'm gonna
Like you
tell you
said.
what that is. That's when the cornerback, he get beat on a slant go, and he know he ain't gonna catch him. He point at the safety like, "Hey, help me!"
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right, man. I'm sorry.
It's
Go ahead.
crazy.
All right.
Okay.
Game time. Game time.
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah, let me get to the game time out. All right. So this episode of the Q&A show is brought to you by Game Time. Losing really sucks. You know what else sucks? Finding good tickets online. That's why you need Game Time, the fast, easy way to buy tickets for sporting events, concerts, and theater shows near you. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Right now on the Game Time app, you're 2 taps away from tickets to the Birds, Flyers, Sixers, and more. The best part is Game Time offers event cancellation protection, even job loss protection. Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. Their all-in prices show you the total upfront, and you can see the view from your seat. You know exactly what to expect at checkout. Game Time is obsessed with helping you save money. Their zone deals let you pick the section, while Game Time picks the seats for the best savings. With the Game Time guarantee, if you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time credits you 110% of the difference. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code BIRDS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use the redeem code BIRDS for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app. Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Game Time app.
Hey, it's Jeff Mosher. I love the fall because football's back, but it's also my busiest season. Between work, kids going back to school, youth sports and activities, there's just not enough time, especially to make a good home-cooked meal. That's why I love HelloFresh. They deliver farm-fresh food with pre-proportioned ingredients and seasonal recipes right to my doorstep. No more wasting time at the grocery store because America's #1 meal kit helps make home cooking easy, efficient, and affordable. We don't waste time researching new recipes and planning meals. With HelloFresh, the shopping's already done. The perfect amount of ingredients arrive with step-by-step recipe cards. How efficient is that? Plus, HelloFresh saves you time and money. HelloFresh is 25% less expensive than takeout, so you'll get a home-cooked meal without digging deep into your wallet. Don't forget about taste and selection. HelloFresh makes food for meat lovers, seafood lovers, vegetarians, and those who love variety. My personal favorites are the spicy Creole stew and pecan-crusted trout, 2 dinners my whole family enjoyed, and we actually had time to sit down together and eat at the table. Go to HelloFresh.com/50Eagles and use the code 50Eagles for 50% off plus free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com/50Eagles. Use that code 50Eagles for 50% off plus free shipping. Act now for America's #1 meal kit.
Let's get to this next portion.
Yeah. Let's get to the question. Let me ask you this one, or you got it?
Yep, you got it.
Okay. All right. So this is from Anthony W. All right. He says, if the Eagles are 1 and done in the playoffs, do they need to clean house?
They don't need a clean house. I think clean house means that everybody has to go. I don't think that everyone has to go. I think that it would be insane to fire Nick Sirianni coming 1 year off of going to the Super Bowl. And I think it creates a bad precedent for potential hires for coaches, right? So a coach knows that, man, he has a short lease, and why would he come to you if you're so quick to fire a guy that has a winning record since he's come here? The team has gone to the playoffs every year that he's been here, and then he has a down year of going to the playoffs, and you get fired. I just think that's a bad precedent for future candidates that are coaching. So I don't think you can clean house with everyone. However, I definitely think that the defense needs to be addressed. I definitely think that the cornerback position, the linebacker position, the defense in general needs to be addressed. And also, they have to get a better play caller on the offensive side of the ball. And I think that'll be sufficient enough.
I agree. And the only thing I'll add is too, especially with the defense, and I agree with everything you said. I think Sirianni has done, a fine job. And I don't even think offensively, I think that they can right the ship on offense. I think they have enough pieces over there to fix it. I think defense, they definitely need to bring in a veteran defensive coordinator, because what that does is when you have players that are, because let's face it, the Eagles are going to spend the most money on offense. It's always been like that. They're always going to, spend money over there. So what a good defensive coordinator can do is he can get players that are not superstar type players, and he can get the most out of them on the defensive side of the ball. And so I think they need to bring in a defensive guy that has experience in this league, that has a system that's a proven system, that you can plug and play players that might not be marquee players, but they can help you based on the scheme. So that's what I think there.
The Eagles better be trying to get in contact with Jesse Minter, the Michigan defensive coordinator. That's what they be trying to do right there, because that dude be calling some football games.
Michigan, man.
No, there we go. Does Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie need to have no say in the type of scheme of the new coach and coordinator? Ooh, heavy hitting right there.
Yeah, man. Ooh. I mean, he's we're talking about the owner and the GM. So you got to be careful when you're saying they have no say in it. I mean, obviously they're signing the checks. But I do think that for some reason there's they're enamored with the Belichick tree, the Belichick style of defensive coaches and defensive coordinators. And I don't see it across the league. I haven't seen many guys from the Belichick tree really have a ton of success or sustained success in this league. And so, if the question is, should it be someone off the Belichick tree? I don't think so. I don't think that's been a proven fact that those guys off that tree are really killing it across the league. But I think if they find the right scheme defensively, and I think it's always going to be this type of scheme, because if, like I said before, if you're building on offense, you're not going to be able to have everything. You're not going to be able to have marquee players everywhere. So scheme, you got to have. I like an attack style defense, scheme based, where guys are blitzing, showing exotic looks, because I feel like that's the best way to add pressure on opposing quarterbacks with players that may not be marquee players, but they understand the system and they can play smart within the system and they can play aggressive and fast. And I think that works better based on how the offense is built on this team. You look at the Belichick trees and the Belichick defenses when they won all those championships. They had big linebackers they spent money on. Willie McGinnis. They had Brewski. They had Brandon Spikes. We don't have those type of
Ty
players on this
Law,
defense. Ty
Lloyd
Law.
Malloy, Rodney Harrison. Like, you had a lot of
Yeah,
money spent on defense. Matter of fact, most of your money was spent on defense. The only money you spent on offense was at the quarterback position. Right?
exactly.
Yeah. So,
Exactly.
and then they would play receiver with anybody.
Exactly. Right.
So
that's That's it. And if you're trying to build that type of, I don't think it's going to work here unless you're going to spend more money on defense.
yeah.
So,
No.
yeah.
I agree with you, because if you're going to put the money on offense, you have to put a premium on them scoring. And so therefore you need an attack style defense that if they give up one, it ain't that big of a deal, but they got a higher chance of getting you the ball back. And
Yes.
because that's what attacking does. Attacking gives you the best chance to get the ball back.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Let's go to the next one. So Zach B. This is from Zach B. He said, Quintin and Jason said, Quintin and Jason, I don't really have a question. I'm just sitting here shaking my head in disappointment, shocked at another wide receiver screen failed in this game. Disappointing way to end the season. I don't see us getting past the Bucks.
Zach B, you're not wrong, man. The reason you're not wrong is you can't expect me to all of a sudden believe that you got a rabbit in your hat, or you can't tell me that I'm outside looking at a blue sky and you want to tell me that it's red. No, every single day that we show up, it's been blue. The sky has been blue. Every single day we've watched the Eagles, it's been bad defense. It's been bad assignments, being, not assignment pure. We know that our receivers can't block. Our quarterback is seeing double right now and is playing inconsistent. This team is just not a good football team. They're just not. They're not a good football team right now. And I know we want to make believe in our mind that, man, we got a bunch of names. Names don't win you football games. All this talent we have. No, what talent? We had talent. It's not the same talent anymore. And so if you're truly honest on what you've seen this year, you're going to say that the Eagles are a one and done team. If they show something else, and this week, good, and we're happy. But the truth is that they've played the game in a way that loses more football games than it actually wins.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Chris E. Q. Did we expect? No, let me read that again. Chris E. Q. Did we set expectations too high on our defensive secondary? Bradbury, Slade, Blankenship, looking back at the age of the secondary and asking Blankenship to be a star is not realistic. We should have seen this coming.
That's a tough one because, I mean, you got Slay, who's a proven player in this league. You got Bradbury, you kind of know what you got there. Blankenship has had very, very good moments. He's also had very, very, I would say, learning experience moments for a young player. I still think that Blankenship's going to be a pretty solid player. Um, the the question then becomes, what's the alternative? All right. So they drafted Ringo. There was no corners available unless you're going to go out and trade an arm and a leg for somebody. So there was really nothing the Eagles could do, right? So they had to go into the season with this secondary the way it was. I think the bigger issue was play style, defensive call style, and it just seemed like coaching wise it just wasn't up to snuff to what it had been in the past. And so I still think that this team, they're 11-5. It wasn't a terrible season. I feel like we talked about every week the same mistakes that they were making secondary wise, and it's just that part of it is the frustrating part. Like they can make the plays. The plays are there to be made. They just didn't execute. And even when they were in position um to make a play, they didn't. So I I don't know I don't know what this team could have done any differently other than getting the film room, study together, understand the scheme a little bit better, communicate a little better, and play like a complete defense. And so, overall, I blame most of this on the coaching. I blame most of this on the secondary coaches. I know they have 3 different coaches in the secondary, which is, I've never really heard of that before. So, maybe there's an issue there, but I think it falls more on the coaching staff than anything, because these guys are all proven players. These are all guys that the year before, besides Blankenship is a young player, but the year before were good enough to get to the Super Bowl. No, you disagree?
I disagree with you with one point.
Okay.
I think Blankenship could be a good player. The expectations are not necessarily on the defensive back. I think who has let the team down even more than the defensive backs is the defensive line, because the defensive line had 70 sacks last year. This year,
Ooh,
they're
good point.
the bottom of the league, and therefore you can't play defense like you played it last year. And now the secondary is more exposed. I think the expectations for Bradbury has just always been unrealistic. He got let go by the Giants because they like to play man-to-man in situations, and he was getting beaten man-to-man. He's a zone coverage corner that was drafted by Sean McDermott and Panthers, trying to execute his system. So therefore, expectations for Bradbury is what the league has told you. Everybody has made it a point to come out and tell you that Bradbury is not like that. Opposing teams, opposing coordinators, and what the films show. They've attacked him every game from last year to this year. He was able to hold up more last year and be able to jump some throws because of how well the defensive line played. But any expectation or paying him was absurd. It just was like that. Paying him was not a great decision. We could use that money to go toward a better free agent cornerback that at least had man-to-man skills. So I would say, other than
Good
that,
point.
that's the way I'll say it.
It's a great point. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, okay. Q, we got to wrap this up. We got 2 minutes.
Okay.
We wrap this up.
Okay. Yep.
Let's talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What do the Eagles have to do to give themselves a chance?
They got to score.
uh,
They got to score. I mean, we say it every week. They got to come out ready to go. They got to come out running the ball. Hopefully, we got some guys banged up in the offense. We got 2 receivers banged up. Got a lot of injuries, so they got to come out scoring and then attack on defense and pray that Baker Mayfield doesn't get hot and Evans doesn't get hot. So that's it.
Yeah, my thought is this: is that don't give up cheap touchdowns, right? Make
Yeah.
them earn it. Don't don't give up touchdowns because of bad leverage, because of blown assignments. Let them march the ball down the field and beat you that way. Baker Mayfield has played a lot better. He's stepping up in the pocket. He's delivering the ball. They have some weapons out there. I like Trey Palmer, that third receiver. He definitely can run and use that receiver screens. With Mike Evans and Rachaad White's playing really well at running back. So there's a bunch of things that they do well. But here, don't give up cheap touchdowns and don't turn the ball over. That's what this Buccaneers team doing. Is Antoine Winfield Jr. is playing out of his mind right now, like the best safety in football. They have linebackers that can run in Levante David and Devin White, and you know what they can do up front with some of their pass rushers with Shaq Barrett, and they got this new young boy, Yaya Diaby, that's taking over for Tryon. Right, so they have a legit defense. If we don't turn the ball over and we don't give up cheap touchdowns, that's the only path forward to win. Yep. So that's where I am with that. You guys, this is the Q&A show on Inside the Birds platform. Thank you guys for tuning in each and every week. Hopefully next week isn't our last show of the season. The Eagles have to do something to convince us. They have to come out and have lightning strike them in the behinds to get them going, some energy, some fight. Hopefully they can do it. If not, we may have our last show next week. So I'm Jason Avant. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you send your questions to insidethebirds@gmail.com. Thank you to Andrew, Zach B, Chris E for the questions this week. And Q, you got the last word.
Hey man, thanks everybody. Appreciate it. Congratulations again to Michigan.
Q, tell him you owe me some money. Q, tell him you paid me some money.
I lost the bet, man. I had to pay him up.
Money.
Put that money to good use, man. Put that money to good use.
I'm throwing them money that one's in the air. No, I'm just joking, y'all. I'm just joking.
Yeah, hey, just don't buy no more cameras.
All right. We definitely had the cameras right on the sideline. I'm joking.
Oh man,
Peace.
Be sure to check out our friends at PHLSportsNation.com. They're enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all Philadelphia sports teams. For the fan, by the fan is their motto. So make sure you check them out at PHLSportsNation.com and on Twitter at PHLSportsNation.